Hello, and welcome to the Cinebrief. Today, we present the romantic drama Sita Ramam. In 1964, the Pakistani extremist Ansari wants to break the fraternal bond between the Pandits and the Muslims in Kashmir by using the Indian army as a pawn. In the next scene we see, in 1985, aggressive Pakistani agitator Afreen is asked by the dean of her college in London to apologize to Indian philanthropist Anand Mehta for setting fire to his car in retaliation for burning the Pakistani flag. When Afreen refuses, Mehta asks her to pay compensation of INR 10 lakhs within a month, or else she will be sent to jail. Afreen takes an initiative to reconcile with and get money from her estranged grandfather, Abu Tariq, a former brigadier in the Pakistan Army. So she flies to Karachi, Pakistan, only to learn that he died of an illness a few days ago, and that she herself is to deliver a 1965 letter from Indian Army Lieutenant Ram to Sita Mahalakshmi of Hyderabad, India, which her grandfather was unable to deliver through the mail. According to Tariq's will, she would not inherit his estate until the letter is delivered to Sita. Afreen has no choice and goes to the Noor Jahan Palace in Hyderabad for which the letter is intended, but finds that the palace was donated 20 years ago by Princess Noor Jahan for the higher education of girls. Afreen reluctantly enlists the help of her Indian superior Balaji and meets with Subramaniam, an accountant who worked for the Nawab in the palace for about 40 years, and inquires about Sita, but he cannot recall anyone by that name employed in the palace. Afreen decides to pursue the details about Ram, believing they may lead her to Sita. She collects details about Ram's regiment from a military man's library and meets his regimental comrade Vikas Varma in Anantapuram with Balaji. Vikas tells the duo that in 1965, the brainwashed teenagers posed as natives of Kashmir and Ansari inadvertently passed on their details through a spy to Indian Army Major Selvin, who ordered Ram's superior Vishnu Sharma to assassinate them despite Ram's protests. After the teenagers, all but one, were killed, Ansari sparked a religious uproar in Kashmir by inciting Kashmiri Muslims against the Indian Army, accusing it of murdering the teenagers and suspecting them simply because they were Muslims. The enraged Kashmiri Muslims boycotted the Indian Army and set fire to Agartha, a place where Kashmiri Pandits lived. Ram, along with his regimental comrades, managed to gather all the Hindus in a safe place and, by exposing Ansari's conspiracy, cleared the misinterpretation of the Muslims so that they stopped firing and apologized. For their deed, Ram and his companions were appreciated, and a reporter, Vijaya Lakshmi, came to their base to interview them. Realizing that Ram was an orphan and no one could write to him, Vijaya Lakshmi asked all radio listeners to send Ram their love and wrote a letter to him herself, calling him her son. Ram then received several letters, one of which fascinated him from Sita Mahalakshmi. Sita claimed that she was married to Ram and recalled several events of their marriage that had never taken place. However, the letter did not include the sender's address, so Ram did not know who she was or what she looked like. When Ram started receiving letters from her regularly, he found out from some details in one of her letters that she was boarding a train from Delhi to Hyderabad and got on the same train with Vikas. He eventually found her and recognized her from a riddle she had given him in a letter, gave her the answers he had written to her letters, and left her compartment, not before telling her to call the landline of his friend Durjoy Sharma in Hyderabad, where he would be staying for the next few days. Ram and Vikas accidentally boarded a train to Madras, and so it took some time for them to reach Hyderabad, where Ram was disappointed to find that Durjoy's landline was dead, and he thought he would not be able to see Sita again. However, she came to Durjoy's house looking for Ram and asked him to forget her. But he refused and she left without telling him who she was. Now Vikas reveals to Afreen and Balaji that he could not meet Ram due to his personal problems and gives them Durjoy's address and Vishnu's contact. Afreen calls Vishnu in a phone booth at a bus stop, but has to cut the call short as the bus to Hyderabad is about to leave. Curious that someone wants to know about Ram, Vishnu mysteriously postpones his plans to look for Afreen. The latter meets Durjoy and learns what happened after Sita's departure. Ram and Durjoy have gone to a magic show, to which Sita had said in one of her letters that Ram should take her. They managed to find Sita, and Ram had a conversation with her friend Rekha, who revealed to him that Sita was the Bharatanatyam teacher of Princess Noor Jahan. Ram and Sita began spending time together, and Ram eventually learned that he had saved Sita from the Agartha riots when she fell in love with his benevolent ways. Ram dares to deceive the accountant Subramaniam to get into the palace and meet Sita, to whom he proposes marriage, but she leaves because something prevents her from accepting the proposal. Durjoy gives Afreen and Balaji a photo of Sita that Ram took with his camera. Afreen takes it to Subramaniam so that he can identify her, but through a portrait in the palace, she learns that Sita is really Princess Noor Jahan. Afreen and Balaji meet Rekha, who reveals to them that Noor was in love with Ram, but her fate prevented her from accepting him. Since her family's assets in Oman were confiscated due to the financial crisis, her brother negotiated a truce to marry her off to the Prince of Oman. Rekha advised Noor to reveal her identity to Ram, and she intended to accompany him to his family, who wrote him letters. However, in those days, Noor felt attached to Ram and could not reveal her identity while leaving for Kashmir, not without expecting Sita to go with him, but she could not because the Prince of Oman accepted to marry her. Without knowing it, the journalist Marthandam photographed the two and published them in the newspaper to publicize Noor Jahan's affair with a common man. When the Prince of Oman demanded an explanation from Noor through an ambassador, Noor's brother challenged her to say that she had nothing to do with Ram, but she shared that she was in love with Ram and was willing to give up her property for him. She traveled to Kashmir despite her brother's opposition, and, without revealing her true identity, spent a few days with Ram and got acquainted with his colleagues and superiors. Now Rekha relays Noor's contact to Afreen and Balaji, who learn that she is in Kashmir and set out to meet her there. After landing in Kashmir, Afreen is picked up by Vishnu, who tells her the rest of the story. Sita and Ram had an unexpected dinner with Vishnu and his wife Vaidehi when the surviving Pakistani teenager tried to assassinate Vishnu, who was saved by Ram. Ram convinced the teenager of Ansari's intentions, learned of the teenager's whereabouts, and promised the teenager that he would protect his sister Wahida from Ansari's clutches. Brigadier E.K. Joshi and Major Selvan assigned Vishnu, Ram, and several other officers on a covert mission to unofficially assassinate Ansari, declaring that whoever did not return would be declared a deserted soldier of the army. After a tearful goodbye to Sita, who wanted to tell him the truth upon his return, Ram set out on his mission and, along with his team, successfully managed to kill Ansari in Pakistan. However, while trying to rescue Wahida from the fire, Ram and Vishnu were arrested by the then Army General Abu Tariq, who took pity on the two and asked the Indian diplomat Rahul Varma to exchange the Pakistani prisoners in India for Ram and Vishnu. However, the Pakistani army would only release one of the two, and eventually Vishnu was sent to India at Ram's request. Today, Vishnu reveals to Afreen that after this incident, the Pakistani army launched attacks on Indian army bases in Kashmir, killing 32 soldiers, leading the army to believe that Ram was a traitor, and Sita had to bear the humiliation of this misinterpretation. However, Vishnu expresses his trust in Ram and reveals to Afreen that she is Wahida, whom Ram tried to protect, and because of whom he was separated from Sita. Afreen is devastated. Meanwhile, Balaji delivers the letter to Sita, who has lived her life with Ram's memories, and learns through the letters that the Pakistani army had given Ram and Vishnu the condition that whoever would reveal the details about the Indian army bases in Kashmir would be released. When Ram refused, Vishnu relented to protect Vaidehi and his children from the terrorists. Therefore, he lived his life in repentance, stopped Afreen, and does not want the letter to be given to Sita. Sita learns through the letter that Ram has been executed in prison, and distraught, she also finds a newspaper clipping published by Marthandam, which reveals that Ram knew who Sita was but did not care about her religion. So great was his love. Sita exposes Vishnu through the letter, after which a committee of inquiry is set up against him, and goes to Afreen, to whom she reveals that Ram is dead. Afreen blames himself and embraces Sita, while Vishnu shoots himself with his service revolver out of shame. Sita receives a medal from the President of India for Ram's patriotism, and Afreen restores his reputation in the army. It turns out that Afreen has apologized to Mehta and also freed 18 Indian prisoners from Pakistani jails.